None words to describe. I should have said the poem. So beautiful. So beautiful. Other people need to see what I've seen. They need to see.
These are the spiritual as much as physical voyages of the co-federation solar, sun, our starship, planet Earth, restored to heaven on our every earth as our spiritual, genealogical, local, global, universal voyager and shared her and his family community enterprise. Our new millennial year's mission to rediscover, re-understand, sustain, and explore are in our familiar new worlds of family community, of the tree of love, life, and light throughout the solar system and universe, to restore, renew, and sustain our and new life and new sustainable civilizations, CAD, present, retroactively, and now, rebalance, and future, always balancing, to lovingly, genealogically, and boldly become and be space-time travelers whenever and where we have in-dimensional reality, all in part been before, it also never been before, in alternative space-time lines that are circles, which are of the universal EQ, IQ, and SQ continuum. Balance, combinations of the ever-expanding circle which spirals and grows, budding and blooming in space-time. Love and live enlightened, ever young, long, and prosper all both in each and every one. Engage your heart, mind, soul, and body, for we all, both and each, both and all, can, must, and marvelously and miraculously make it so.
In the thunderous blast, she merges, her eyes on fire, the mighty priestess. She is risen from the nativity of Carpenter. She is risen from the fires of the earth. She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
May the circle be overwhelmed, unbroken, may the love of the goddess be ever in your heart. Carry me to my Lord, and carry me together. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be.
महालक्ष्मी मृडप्रिया महारूपा महापूज्या महापातकनाशिनी महामाया महासत्त्व महाशक्ति महारथी महाभोगा महेश्वर्या महावीर्या महाबला महाबुद्धि महासिद्धि महायोगेश्वरेश्वरी महातंत्र महामंत्र महायंत्र महासना महायागक्रमाराध्या ओम महाभैरवपूजिता महेश्वर महाकल्पक महातांडव साक्षिणी महाकामेशमहिषी महात्रिपुरसुन्दरी चतुष्षष्टि उपचाराढ्या चतुष्षष्टि कलामयी महाचतुष्षष्टि कोटि योगिनी गण सेविता
All of us.
Just a slump like one of us. Just a stranger on the bus.
Celestial event. No. No words. No words. Describe. I should have said. The poem. So beautiful. The people need to see what I've seen. They need to see.
This day I call the heavens and the earths as witnesses intercessorily for and hopefully and prayerfully not against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses, Now choose love and life with light, so that you and your children may live. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not your, our new millennial law.
Okay. Another Patricia. Lady Church May Sunflower for Cherokee and Blackfoot. This is Anna Marie singing Christmas, and I am Cherokee, Cheyenne, Blackfoot, and Anahuac, Dakota. And I am also a French, English, and German. That means we are all related. We embrace the new millennial golden rule as the law of Alltimate of the sacred ground that is Mother Earth and all the planets of all the universes.
Welcome to our broadcast, children of the Mother, Father, Goddess, God of planet Earth. We seek to give you the most joyous of eternal life on this and all planets. And we know that we shall. The Mother, Father, Goddess, God has allowed me to catch up on some unfinished tasks that need to be re-begun for our part of the world here in North America, where I am based in Maryland, and for our entire planet Earth, where everyone who lives in North America is related to, and for our entire universe, because the universe is entirely interconnected, as is planet Earth, and we are all related. We are related in a great balancing act of yin and yang. It is entirely everywhere throughout creation. However, we have taken a wrong turn in culture, and we have been placing yin under yang or yang over yin instead of side by side for several thousands of years since the eruption of Mount Thera, now called the Isle of Santorini in the Mediterranean, and the loss of Atlantis. Atlantis was the longest known civilization to humanity as we look back on her and his story. for a long time has been wrongly misnomered the Minoan civilization. It would be more correct to speak of it as the Pasiphaean Minoan or the Ariadnean, or more accurately, Atlantis. This week commemorated a family that was based in Atlanta for much of its work and has its center in Atlanta. The connection of Atlanta, the name, and Atlantis is not a coincidence. The human family, most likely, according to most anthropologists, began in Africa. We all are children of this creative moment in Africa when humanity was first begun on planet Earth. Mitochondrial Eve was an African. We are all her children and great and grandchildren, female and male. Later on, there is an individual who is often called the chromosomal Adam. We couldn't have children, female and male, without a female and a male. But somehow, in the telling of the story of humanity's time on this planet, the story has been told in such a twisted and strange way that most of the female names have been left out of the story in certain cultures and in our dominant culture, which is patriarchal. Today, there are many places on the planet Earth that have risen out of patriarchy, more or less. There are many places that have gender parity in government. There are many places that have at least substantive balance of love and work pertaining to the care of young babies and children, so that both females and males can balance their responsibilities during the time of such important early childhood, babyhood and early childhood, because it is in babyhood and early childhood where much of the foundation of the human personality is frameworked in the brain, in the body, and in the actual interaction with other human beings, the bonding. It is that bonding that makes human beings most human. And it is that bonding and that interactive aspect, that social aspect, that brings forth the great individual genius that serves others. The goddess and godlike quality of kindness bonded with other human beings to create ideas and structures and innovations and understandings and technology that benefit everyone. These hangouts on the air are the product of mostly young men who were most likely nurtured in early childhood, particularly by women. We often forget that aspect of the woman as so important, and yet we also punish her, because once she has engaged in that activity, we put her down. and she is no longer seen as a serious adult. I guess we think that a person who spends a lot of time with a baby can't be a serious adult, a contributing full adult. Now that's kind of crazy thinking, but it is somewhat connected to our primative beginnings, our chimpanzee qualities of being, which put dominant alpha males as a controlling factor on a clan or tribe. However, there is another primate, the bonobo, in which the females are more dominant, and it is a less violent species than the chimpanzee. We can learn from this. On this earth, we struggle with a great deal of violence, and we don't like it. We would like to rise above it. On the other hand, the individual alpha male can be of great service when he is channeled to give his gifts to the greatest number, and not just to himself. And to have concern about the vulnerable as well as the currently more dominant. Because in the process of nurture and nature, humanity goes through steps. And at one moment, a person who is highly vulnerable can become the strongest. And so we have great paradoxical, continual interchange of roles according to the yin and yang. But the key element for a society to sustain itself is good decisions. Decisions that look to the 7th and beyond that, to the 11th generations, past, currently, in broadness, and into the future. And in a society where adult women are discouraged from participating in decision making at the highest level, a full half of human genius, and actually more, because this also affects younger people and most men, become excluded from the decision making, and the decision making becomes concentrated in the hands of alpha males who, from everything that we can see about their performance in the human herd history, they are not the best decision makers. They are kind of nearsighted. And that's why so many civilizations have fallen, because the aggressive impulse of alpha males and the accumulative and hoarding and triumphant thumping on the chest of a chimpanzee or an ape that alpha males are a little bit more prone to, over time degrades the society, and alpha males become, in fact, even less like chimpanzees and a little bit more like Tyrannosaurus rexes. They're eating everybody else up alive and frightening everybody. That has become our condition in North America and in other places in the world also. We have highly armed alpha males protecting their accumulated so-called wealth. Their decisions with regard to energy and social organization are very poor. And as a result, a great number of human beings suffer needlessly. And the alpha males destroy their own karmic future. Because as my great ancestor and ancestors spoke, a rich man can get into heaven as likely as a camel can go through the eye of a needle. Kindness is the greatest strength for a human being. This is the teaching of every major religious heritage in the book that they have written, or the Psalms, or those poems that they have shared over the years, the music. However, all of our religions have become enormous hypocrites because patriarchy distorts the balance in the favor of the so-called strong over the so-called weak, defining strength as aggression and dominance instead of genius. When we get past our primitive ways, enormous genius comes forth from people who may not be so physically strong, but are extremely observant, highly creative, and often more loving. The female gender has particularly well-developed intuitions and understandings related to empathy, nurturing, and connection by nature, because the estrogen hormone motivates those directions. That isn't to say that men do not have these characteristics, but across the broad brush, they have a little bit less of it. Women have a little bit less testosterone. They're a little bit slow to act compared to men. Adult women are a little bit slower to act compared to adult men. And often the adult male has better spatial and mathematical intelligence, whereas the adult female has a little bit better social, empathic, and interpersonal intelligence. Many people balance both these tendencies fairly well, but not everyone does. And the more degraded a society is, the more extreme gaps people have. And so you wind up over time with these extremes that we have today. We have billions of people living in poverty and nuclear weapon silos filled with nuclear weapons that take millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to maintain. We have abundant sunlight to give us all the renewable energy we need, and wind, but our investment has gone to fossil fuels and to nuclear fission, and now fracking, which is another fossil fuel, and coal, all of which speaks to a species that was slow to discover our own nearest star as the source of best energy that gives all the photosynthesis its reality, and all the vegetative life upon which animal life is based its enormous power. When Buddha was asked what is power, he held up a flower, because he understood that there is a quiet but extremely powerful presence of the yin, upon which the yang cannot function. But in patriarchy, the yin is deprived of value. And after a while, a patriarchal civilization will be destroyed by its own mirror image in other nearby or surrounding cultures. In other words, the dominant of one culture attacks the dominant of another culture. Or from within, the dominating tendency becomes so overweening, that's the wrong word, overwhelming, that the society is structured in such a way that it is feeding on itself like a snake eating itself. That is happening in North America. It is happening in Russia. It is happening in Iran. It is happening in Israel. It is happening in North Korea. It is happening in China. It is happening to too great an extent in India, despite the goddess worship. It is happening in too many places because we became addicted to the patriarchal pattern, and we transmit it from generation to generation through our institutions that continue to overvalue the yang. This transmission process can be passed on both by female and male. The female in a patriarchal society takes a co-opted, enabling, and submissive role. She, like Michelle, looks admiringly at Barak, not noticing that the Congress that he is speaking to has only 20% at best women in it, far less than Pakistan, and absolutely nowhere near South Africa or Rwanda now, which out of its anguish has wisely chosen a reparative time and has had between 56 and 63% women in their Congress for a number of years now, and therefore is not immersed in fratricide. However, many parts of our world have striven toward gender balance. Some of the women particularly, and here and there a great man, not as many as great men as we would like, and we need to see more of them, who call for balance of gender in the decision making. We also, in my family, come from a tradition of great love. Our family is connected to the families of Mariam of Magdala and Jesus of Nazareth and Miriam of Nazareth and their kin. They had kin. We don't know Miriam of Magdala's mother's name. We don't know her siblings, her sisters and her brothers' names, or her cousins and cousins. With Jesus of Nazareth, because he was a man, he got a little bit more interest in him. And so we know the name of his mother. We know the name of his grandmother. We've traced it back all the way to some other very famous women who were women together, Ruth and Naomi. And their relationship with Orpah is very important for us to be considering right now too. That family has received more attention. Little by little, it began to surface that he had more than just brothers, that James was not his only brother, that he had other brothers, and he had sisters. We now believe his sisters were likely named Mariam and Salome. That's not completely sure, but there's considerable evidence that that was the case, and many people have arrived at that conclusion. Many scholars now, archaeologists and anthropologists, are clear, based on more recent anthropological and archaeological study of that region and of archaeology in particular, that Mariam of Magdala was a full preacher, that she was not an underling, that she was not just a student, and that Jesus of Nazareth regarded her as an equal,
And it was his goal to have all women regarded as equals. Clearly stated that the female and the male are equally anointed, that the Greek and the Jew are equally anointed, that is, the nationalisms mean nothing, and also that the master and the slave are equally anointed in Christ. Christ means anointed in Greek. What these people were telling us is to have gender and intersectional justice. Now we have more sophisticated terms for this. We have social sciences that tell us the same thing. We have an anthropologist by the name of, I think it's Robert Salavi, I have to look the name, who is a student of baboons and has found that when the alpha males are, for natural reasons, separated or removed from their tribe, the tribe does better. The general picture of all of the individuals in the tribe improves. Now, I am not against alpha men. I like alpha men. But alpha men need channeling. And that cannot be done if women are reluctant or retarded in getting into decision making, as they are in North America. North American women have been distracted deliberately by a few over-controlling CEOs in boardrooms of media, and both deliberately and unwittingly by their minions of female teleprompter readers who have not been telling you at all the truth in North America about government for about 25 years, especially since the Beijing Conference for Women in China set a goal of at least 30% women in every government by the millennial year, and that was a conservative goal. Because you have to remember, we've had thousands of years without that. And we have all these nuclear weapons, and we have all these poor people. We have a lot of suffering on this planet, needless crime, needless illness, needless mental illness, needless stress of all kinds that are coming out of patriarchy and causing misery to billions of human beings, including babies. So we need to quickly switch out of this paradigm into the new one. And if you go to the 5050now website, 5050now.wordpress.com, we want you specifically right now to look at the section called the New Millennial Golden Rule, 5 Pillars of Planet-Saving Change. Beneath that, look at the Delleivered steps of how to bring about the new New Millennial Golden Rule paradigm shift quickly, and how to save our planet. Most important, 11 steps to save our planet. Scroll down further to the sermon section and you will see, and I'll show these on the screen in a little while, you will see a sermon called We All Have a Dream, to make reality now. And we have made it reality now, because if you scroll down further on the website to the area on grassroots congresses and courts and assemblies, scroll down a little further under that category and you'll see among the representatives you, and you. It includes my family, your camp family, and everybody's family via representatives from every continent on this planet, the women, as well as their youth aged 37 and younger, female and male, represented in this grouping. These people have known that they are members of this. Some are quite enthusiastic about signing up for it. Others are kind of sitting on the fence and a little scared of the whole thing. But a lot of them are really all the way into it and for it. And all we have done is taken the polling data of what women and youthful people want for this planet and passed it as laws, as decisions. We've made it our policy. We already know what women and youth want. They want the end of war. They want protection of the environment completely so that all their generations to the 11th generation can thrive. They want education available to everybody. They want to know that we're not going to drown and suffocate in our own waste. They want to protect the butterflies and the bees and all the forms of life on this planet. They want children to be happy, and they want their parents to be happy. And this is all clearly in every poll. Now, I'm not against men, but when you give polls to men, they often show up a little bit more hesitant to ask for what is obviously good. Women are a little bit more in favor of solar energy than men, although both genders are profoundly in favor of it at above the 90% level. But women are a little bit yet more so. There's a little edge that women have in the caring, kind category over the men across a broad brush. Not against, I'm not talking about individual men, because some individual men have been the most profound advocates for the environment and for Mother Nature, even more than many women. Many women. So, but the thing is, our women have for thousands of years been adjusting to patriarchy. And therefore, some of them carry, as if they were their own opinions, ideas that were really forced into them by men, particularly at the Council of Nicaea. In more recent history, the Council of Nicaea was an unholy marriage of state patriarchy into nominal Christianity, turning Christianity from a religion of peace into one that was co-opted to war culture. This is obvious to many, many people today. But there are millions and billions of people who are going on with religious practice with absolutely no notion of how hypocritical almost all of the major sects of the religious heritages are. And why is that? Because they lost the goddess aspect. They lost the mother, sister, cousina nexus. What we have been doing on our broadcast is showing a ceremony that can be done in every home, as well as every worship center, as well as every governmental center. That can be based also in the neighborhood. Every neighborhood can have a commons area. For example, the kibbutzim in Israel have had that type of arrangement for a long time. The intentional communities have that arrangement all over the world. Every neighborhood can have its own commons area where decisions are made. And according to the New Millennial Golden Rule, they would use the process that is the genius of Kasturba Kapadia and Mahatma Gandhi come to fruition through the efforts of Sonia Maino Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi, the Panchayat Raj, which is the rule of every village of India, requiring 50% women as well as 50% men be present for all the decision making, and that any minorities in the village are fully represented according to their presence in that area. And so this application can be done to every neighborhood on planet Earth, fulfilling both Mariam of Magdala and Jesus of Nazareth's indiction and that of Kasturba and Mahatma Amma and Mahatma, bringing all the great souls, the greatest souls together. There were other great souls too. This month is the celebration of not only a family of queens and kings, common queens and kings, because Koreta means to wear the crown of the hearts. But another family that of Mariam, Mary, and Thomas Lambert Paine. He gave us Common Sense in January 1776. They were contemporaries of Mary Wollstonecraft, who wrote 2 essays, one called The Vindications of the Rights of Women and another called The Vindications of the Rights of Men. These people were moving toward enlightenment. They had enlightened democracy, divine democracy, as an inalienable right to everybody, not just slave owners, not just big businessmen who had the property to get into government, not just men, but everyone. The original understanding of common sense was that the United States would have a government that equally included women, that equally included indigenous people who were here, that did not allow slavery, and did not allow a property requirement for public service. In 1789, because of our primitive patriarchal processes and the extreme illiteracy of so many people at that time, particularly women, everyone who had gotten all hepped up about separating themselves from monarchy and aristocracy simply recreated it in another form here in the United States. It was a plantation. Instead of a king, there was a plantation. Instead of a king, there was a sweatshop, and with indentured servitude, more or less. Instead of a king soldier, there was a cavalry that drove out all the indigenous from their own homes. We don't like to look at this, but this is the truth of North America. It's a domination culture that is now on its last legs because it's dominating itself and its own people to such an extent that the IQs of the people of this land are dropping, that the health is getting lower and lower, that the stress is getting higher and higher, and that the environment is fragilely attacked. And this is the model that we have given to many other places on the earth that have been imitating us and have the patriarchal processes of their own primitive types also troubling them. So I am here as the paraclete, the first but not last or only cosmic Christ, to give you the alternative that will give you eternal life, that will protect everyone, even, yes, our CEOs, even, yes, our dominant alpha males. If you watch the best science fiction, it often depicts, as in Star Trek, the episode of the Neutral Zone, a CEO having to come to terms that in a more advanced society, money and power are not considered power. Power over others is not considered power. Power for others, the greatest good for the greatest number, is considered power. So this is what we have to bring to bear and bring to your understanding and easy implementation via the New Millennial Golden Rule. If you don't want that, yes, you can die in your own waste pretty quickly soon. You will not have the universe welcoming you in your next incarnation. You will come back somewhere else in the universe as a lower form of life. And the CEO is most likely, at best, maybe a paramecium or a cockroach, because they have not shown love for creation. They have shown degradation and deprecation of the yin, and those processes concentrated over time have created a bimboized society among women in the United States. The women in the United States have become a consumerist harem. at odds with each other, fighting over abortion, when the decisions about how to handle the complicated reality that patriarchy produces of unwanted children is a decision being made by mostly men. It's a backwards, our feminism in the United States was completely backwards. It focused on abortion instead of democracy. It focused on abortion instead of balance and love of work, and love and work so that children could be well nurtured. Therefore, the society it created terribly stressful and dominating and exploitive relationships between the genders, and therefore high rates of unwanted pregnancies. So everybody is obsessed with abortion. If we have an egalitarian society, abortions will be very rare. Unwanted children would be much rarer. And every child would be wanted, and women and men would have more say-so in the planning of their families and operate at a more ascended level of being, so that they could pace their caretaking activities with the other obligations of life in community and of giving their full gifts of genius. In that context, we would not have very much unwanted pregnancy. We would not have rape. We would not have incest. We would not have most of what causes unwanted pregnancy. We wouldn't have electrocomplex nymphomaniac women. We wouldn't have sexual predator men. So all of this Sturm und Drang about abortion is really strange, because what should have been the focus all along is full representation for all women and balance of love and work for women and men, and also teaching the love of Mother Nature, without which we cannot exist on this or any planet. And these things should be obvious to people, but if you watch the debates that millions of people strangely watch and think have some reality to them, this is not talked about. This perspective is missing entirely. And we talk about immigration as if we didn't know this is one planet and one human family that has migrated all over this planet, and everybody has played a different role at different times in different places, many, many times over, and you're likely a reincarnation of someone from this ancient land or that ancient land. We know that everyone on Earth is no more than 50th cousina and cousin from everyone else, that everybody has a common ancestor within the last couple of hundred, maybe years. And if you're within a typical haploid group, much more recently than that. So we're all related. And the internet is the biggest family reunion, and that's why you see so many of my ceremonies addressing my extended family and your extended family by model. And we've done this for famous families, including the families that we have a holiday for this week. We have a holiday for one of the men, not all of the men, none of the women, not one of the women, not one woman has a holiday in her name, ever did, in this part of the world. And I don't know that we want that anyway. What we want to do is make every day someone who is born and someone who reaches maturity as an idealistic young person a holy day for all of us. And then we will have every day as a holy day, and life itself will be completely holy. If you can imagine this, you will be commemorating at all times and celebrating at all times, every day routinely, all of your ancestry, your past, present, and future, and your local, global, universal community. And you will have an infinity of time to do it. Because once we unlock this kind of genius, we will open the stargates, we will have mastered space-time travel, and we will literally have a life that is immortal. And all human beings will be as goddess and gods. This is what I am giving you as the logical step-by-step process that unfolds naturally once you have implemented in your local global communities. That is your local community connected with other global communities by the internet, and therefore very quickly universally. We actually do have space station that we can connect with. So we have off-planet life already, off this planet of humanity. And in fact, when we open the stargates, we're going to discover that our relations are already incarnated on other planets. I tell you this is absolute truth, and I am not making this up. Other great and creative people have had the same thought. We don't have these thoughts for no reason. Goddess God doesn't create these kinds of imaginings in so many intelligent people for no reason. So you have to put aside your old habits. Turn off the television. Stop pretending that your governments can be mostly men and that will work. Stop pretending that 1 or 2 female candidates is great progress. And follow the new millennial golden rule. I'll put that up on the screen now. I'll put up these websites on the screen now, and that of these related families that I have been addressing. I'll show you some consciousness currencies that you can make so easily. Instead of carrying just plastic that shows the name of a corporation that's headed by almost all men, or pieces of paper that showed old, pasty-faced men, none of whose wives could vote. Make your own currency, pass it around as a consciousness raiser, and there will be a spooky action at a distance. In other words, you will change the consciousness around you, and all of a sudden, marvelous, miraculous things will begin to happen. Of human genius, all kinds of breakthroughs will happen. We'll cure cancer. We'll say goodbye to Alzheimer's. All diseases will be gone. There will be no more mental illness. There will be enormous blessings. The bee population will return, and the butterflies will return, and the birds that have become endangered will return, and the animals that became endangered will return. And the people who are living in poverty will figure out a way to live in abundance with one another, primarily by switching to solar energy and renewable energy. To think that a country that is bathed in sunlight, as Greece, where the Atlantis used to be, is addicted to the use of lignite coal, one of the most polluting forms of energy that you could imagine, tells you what we sacrifice when we forget the goddess. The fact that the Middle East has made its money off of oil instead of the sun, which is just as abundant as oil in the Middle East. And once that process began, we would discover that we are in a planet that hardly really needs money, because our harmony with nature will be so in balance, there will be no want. Productization will be almost effortless. Like in Star Trek, where they push a button and what they want to appear appears. The simulator, the fabricator, I forget what they call that. We will get to that point. But we will also know how to steward nature organically, with permaculture, with very, very effortless ideas like that of Esther Dean's, a living Esther of 50-50, better than that, because once you have harmony with nature, it's pretty easy for everyone to be queen and king. Everywhere. Every common person will live a life better than any queen or king could possibly have imagined. We all have the internet. You have the access into each other's mansions just by putting the camera there and looking and seeing. And what is the real wealth of that place? The person, the people who were there, their thoughts, their heart, their feelings, their experiences. That's the great wealth. Not a bunch of gadgets or so many designer dresses and cosmetics. Is that wealth? Well, it isn't the way I define wealth, and it isn't the way that Mariam of Magdala and Jesus of Nazareth and Mariam of Nazareth and their kin, Mariam and Salome, and I am a reincarnated first cousina of both of them. They both taught me. I am risen in this time. I'm also the risen priestess of Astrea, the goddess of the sun and the stars of Atlantis, who is the goddess of the Statue of Liberty. And I am standing up very, very tall on these broadcasts because I see that all my huddled masses yearning to breathe free are so fearful of letting go of patriarchy and calling the name of the elephant in the living room. There aren't enough women in government to have parity. The decision makings are all slanted and screwed up. The women who are in these contexts become more like men than women. It's not healthy for anybody. Gradualism and tokenism is a tranquilizing drug, as Martin Luther King talked about it. It gives you the impression that you have a black man for president. Oh, that's really helped the people of color. But it didn't. Their conditions got worse during his presidency, his so-called presidency, because tokenism is not representation. That Northern American people have found this so hard to figure out is shocking to me. Northern American people are literate. I would have thought they had a little bit better craft detectors. But I was wrong. That's why I have to stand up so high and say, I don't care who comes after me, what the government or mafia or whatever. Who cares? I am the paraclete. I'm here to save you all and give you eternal life. Want that? Okay? Guys, with all your guns and with all your nuclear weapons, I have a better gift for you. You're going to be like Q in Star Trek. You're going to be able to jump around from planet to planet at will, and you'll also have a lot of time to enjoy your grandchildren and your wife, and it won't be a bunch of trophy wives. It'll be one woman who you love spiritually, primarily. And as you do that, you'll both get younger. Everyone will get younger. We won't show the signs of stress. All those wrinkles will disappear. We'll be more vital and vibrant at incredibly old ages, like in the film of Stargate and the Knox people, when he was asked, how old are you? He said, oh, I think I'm around 400. But he looked maybe like in his 30s. That's our future. Do you want that future, or do you just want a bunch of money in the bank made off of oil and coal? What do you want? Do you want to pretend that taking a pill is health, or do you want a naturally organic and healthy society without stress to provoke disease? So I'm going to stop lecturing. I think I've made a pretty clear case for a time to say goodbye to patriarchy and move to parity. Moving from planeticide to paradise instead, on our own planet and on all planets. I'll show you another website. Our little helper wants to navigate a little. Okay. Now, I have gifted family who I have asked to co-host this with me. As I said, I'm the first but not last or only cosmic Christ. I have people in my family who are living goddesses who don't know it. I have young women and young men who are living in better versions of Mariam of Magdala and Jesus of Nazareth and don't seem to know how important they are. I know. I keep telling them to come. We have been graced by two women who have been willing to use the appellation of the name of the Messiah of the Native Americans, White Calf Buffalo Women. They are here to save, and they have endorsed the New Millennial Golden Rule. Anna Marie singing cricket and Ma Patricia Sunflower, who are of multiple tribes of Native Americans, as well as intertwined with multiple European heritages. We are all related. Mitakuye Oyasin becomes Mitakuye Koya, Savior all. And this is a matter of kinship systems. We have to move from patriarchal nomenclature. We have to stop calling people by only their father's names. We have to allow both sides of a family to visit in a common center in every neighborhood so that families can have family reunions on a regular basis with all the branches of their family, their great and grandmothers, their mothers, their great and grandmothers, their great and grandfathers, and their fathers can all get together in periodic combinations. The branches that need most attention right now are those of women and their great and grandmothers. Now, this is what I have called the Eleusinian mysteries revealed, or the Reall mysteries, because in ancient Atlantis, women priestesses gathered whole communities together with no barriers on basis of sex or gender or income or racial heritage or anything. They all came into these ceremonies, and the women did things that referred to especially the goddess Ceres and her daughter Persephone and the return of spring to our planet, and the anointing of Persephone in a manner in which she would not be attracted to death or hell. Her goddesshood would be of a more benign and spring-like quality. The same gifts were given to a young man in these ceremonies, either usually represented as Dionysius or Triptolemus, who was a god of agriculture. Very similar to Mars or Marsyas, who was originally a god of agriculture and not of war. In Atlantis, the god archetype for Mars existed as Triptolemus or Mars, Marsyas, in other nearby cultures like the Thracians. These are all archetypes of a male whose interest is in serving nature and others, not in serving self or ruling or attacking others. And is a god, a young, ever young god. I have such a god in my family. I have actually several of them, and I have several Persephones, both contemporaries in my age group, including myself, and younger ones, and better. They embody all the archetypal names of goddesses, and they're in my known extended family, and I'm trying to get them to co-host this with me. And I know that's going to take some stroking and baiting and challenging as well as welcoming, because these people are besotted with patriarchy. They are insane with it. One moment women talk about equality. The next minute they say, "Oh, I'm so pleased the Pope said that." You know, it's like there's a disconnect going on in their minds, and they don't understand the difference between a society and structures that fully welcome women and those that don't. Because they're used to the lie. And once people are used to the lie, it's easy to rehook them into it. And that's what our television has been doing. It's hooked you into the lie, and it shows you the mostly male debates with an occasional female token to give you the delusion that you made a little progress. No, you didn't. They're using her to deceive you. They used Barak to deceive you that you had made racial progress. Token. Tokenism puppet. Got it? Promise, but not keep promise. Speak with forked tongue. All of these tokens and all the people who present a male-dominated or a female tokenized reality are all speaking, whether of the dominator tongue or the enabler tongue. It's all the same nonsense. It makes no difference to anybody. And it's taking us very close to the brink of the extinction of our planet right now. So I am here as the Statue of Liberty goddess, Estrella, risen. I am bringing you the golden age of all millennia on this planet and in future planets that you'll share with, terraform, learn about. They'll come visit us. We'll come visit them. It'll be lovely. The stargates will open. I'm telling you, we can do this. But you got to give up patriarchy. You can't do it if you hold on to patriarchy. You have to choose a reparation time for women and youth and all minorities wherever on earth. And then you move quickly into true 50-50 parity for both genders everywhere on earth, at all ages. And it's, oh, heavens on earth. And I'm giving it to you on a platter. So take it. Don't be afraid, kiddies. This is your Statue of Liberty. You are my huddled masses. I am taking care of you. Let's look at the website. That's going to take me a moment to pull up, so I'll keep blathering for a little while. I hope this will not curtail the Hangout. Sometimes the Hangout disappears when I try to pull up another page. If that happens, then we'll continue tomorrow, because well, I might try to start it up again tonight. But we have been broadcasting for several hours at a time, and I haven't seen. I'll also tell you now, you could call in and participate as co-host or as person asking a question or wants to make a comment by calling our conference line, which is open at well, it's if you're out of the United States, you'd have to dial the country code 1011 and then the country code 1. In the United States, just dial 1-641-71, or U.S. and Canada. It's 1-641-715-3800. I'm sorry, 3580. 3580. 1-641-715-3580. Access code 773342. I want my own dearest family to talk to you from that line. They know it. They hear contacts from me from the broadcast every day. Many of them on all branches of our family. With my gentle shepherdess's hook, trying to bring them to the broadcast. I know they'll eventually come. These are very gifted, highly intelligent people who've been profoundly harmed by patriarchy and don't recognize that that is the source of their problems. But it is. And I could show it to them, and I've tried to show it to them. But they're holding on to it. And I'd say the biggest reason they're holding on to it is that women have so low self-esteem that they're afraid to talk with me and one another. They are afraid of getting into an argument with each other or with me. They're afraid of being rejected by another woman. And they're also afraid of alienating some of the men in their lives who they're trying to kowtow to. And as long as those fears have them in sway, they are endangering themselves, their children, and their planet. So I'm encouraging them to break free of the fears. I'm encouraging you all to break free of the patriarchy habit with all the intensity of the Statue of Liberty, holding up her torch. And in that torch is wrapped around the future of your family and our family and all of them. And holding also with her that you don't see, her connection to Mother Nature and all people as budding, blooming, marvelous, miraculous flowers like those of my family, but they're your family too. They are your family, we are your family, and your family is our family. Mitakuye Oyasin. On the cute continuum, we're going to have a lot of time to get to know one another. We're going to be having lifespans of thousands of years beyond that. It's infinite. It's hard to imagine this, but you're going to be learning forever. Every day is going to be wake up, stress-free, learn something new, learn something new, learn something new, new. Universe expands, your thinking expands, suddenly you're a genius, thinking like a goddess, thinking like a god. That's your future if you let go of patriarchy. Can you let go of patriarchy, please? Because that is your future. Okay, now I'll pull up our website. Okay, let me put this on screen share and we'll scroll down and look at it together.
Okay, now you're looking at our main website. We have a couple of related websites, but this is the main flagship website for the New Millennial Co-Federation of the New Millennial Golden Rule. Here we see the main logo, which is about balance and the balance of yin and yang with love for both. We have our females, we have our males. They all have their hearts. They're wearing their hearts, and they recognize that they need each other, and that recognition is what keeps our world stable and from tipping over and destroying itself. So this is a perfectly balanced yin and yang that comes with the New Millennial Golden Rule. Now let's see if we can scroll down and show you this section on the New Millennial Golden Rule itself. Okay. Let's see if this is showing up. Yeah. Okay. So that's on the upper right-hand section of the website. The New Millennial Golden Rule is simply my grouping of the best ideas of our planet for paradigm shift based on the understanding that all female and male people of all heritages, of all holy nativities, are equally anointed in the Christhood of the New Millennial Golden Rule, the new law for planet Earth. And here are the ingredients. The first ingredient is a local global implementation, and it's actually universal, of the Panchayat Raj. I don't know what just happened to the page here. It got kind of screwed up because of what's going on in the computer, but it's right there at the very beginning. We have background information on the Panchayat Raj, how this arose in around 1993 in India, right around the same time that gender parity was being encouraged in Nordic and Latin American countries and Rwanda. All kinds of activity around the world on gender parity that North American audiences never were told because the patriarchal boardrooms did not want you to know, and because I find so many perversely confused women in the United States willing to read teleprompters and edit out truth from their stories, even though a few of them at least knew. And yet they went ahead and took things out of their stories. I have a great friend that I went to high school with, who I told repeatedly the facts about balance of gender in time for her to, as a reporter from the Sun-Times, the chief reporter from the Sun-Times newspaper, where in Illinois, where Hillary and Barack Obama both came from, I told her repeatedly about the information about gender parity around the world, and to make that a campaign issue. She, to this day, has not done one article on this issue. Other women have. Not at the Sun-Times, as far as I know. I don't know about that. But other women here and there on other publications, especially on the internet. But it's only sporadic, and it isn't with the understanding that this is the key to the future of humanity. So that's why we're presenting it with such bold, clear focus in the New Millennial Golden Rule. And you can read a lot more about the progresses toward parity and other places on the website. There's a lot of information about that. The second component of the New Millennial Golden Rule is already the law, not coincidentally, of Mary Land, where I live. This is not only Maryam of Magdala and Maryam of Nazareth's push to birth humanity out of its stupid
but it's also the goddess Mari, the ancient goddess Mari, as Mariam in Hinduism, Amaterasu in Japan, Mara in Latvia. There's many other, Mariam, I said, the Hindu goddess. There's the great goddess Mari of the Spanish and Basque heritage. There's many examples of Mari. It's embedded in our word marine, which means the flow of water around the entire planet. It has to do with, you know, the gifts of our ocean. Our whole life cycle on this planet is based on the plankton and the regulating activity of plankton in the oceans. This is the goddess Mari, marine, marvelous, miraculous Mari. In South America, the Miriam of Nazareth is often conflated with Pachamama. And she is celebrated by people going to the coastlines and dancing in the water. These enormous gifts, okay, are reflected in the genuine progress indicator of Maryland. Already the law of the state of Maryland, brought into being by a male governor who had many men and women working with him on environmental issues, but would have come faster had we had a country filled with female governors. We don't have that. We have 5 out of 50 states. We have tokenism. And that's why this man himself is struggling for attention for the goods that he's done. A great fellow, but and the other fellow who's also running currently as a candidate in an absurd and pointless, unnecessary election, is also from a state that has been trying to pass the genuine progress indicator in its legislature, Vermont. 25 states came for a conference in Maryland. Oregon was on the verge of it before there were political machinations that brought down a governor and his first lady who were pressing for it. And of course, the country of France almost adopted it, and at least 11 countries have pre-tested it, and it's very easy to implement. And the only reason you don't know about it and it isn't being taken seriously is because our media is so controlled that this great innovation that Robert Fitzgerald, his name of his mother, Kennedy, spoke of in 1968, that we need something other than the gross domestic product to evaluate wealth and account for wealth and estimate wealth in our society. He did this in 1968, and ironically today, even most of his great and grandchildren, his wife, don't talk about the genuine progress indicator. Maybe they don't know about it, so we're making sure to make sure they do know about it. Kathleen Kennedy Townsend ran for the governorship of Maryland. I'm sure had she become governor, she would have discovered this too. But when women are knocked down in their self-esteem by rejection, they are slow to understand the value of their own gender and the innovations that have come out of places named for the greatest women that we venerate, even under patriarchy, like Mariam of Magdala and Mariam of Nazareth. Maryland, ladies and gentlemen, Maryland. You want progress? Look at the genuine progress indicator of Maryland, where I am, because I ran on a balance of gender ticket on the millennial ticket officially in the state of Maryland in the millennial year. And I now say to you, I didn't know it, but Goddess God had elected me. I was elected then, and I didn't know it because I didn't know my genealogy and I didn't know the level to which I was elected. I was elected to become the Paraclete, the cosmic Christ. I was elected, and I am yet elected, and I want you to become co-elected with me. The next component is, the third component is the circle process. This is widely known in indigenous cultures, that people gather in a circle, and the way they talk is one person talks, and they may hold a feather. They talk from their hearts and authentically and seriously, thinking about the implications of their words to the 7th and through the 11th now generations. When they are completely satisfied with what they've said for that moment, they pass the feather to the next person in the circle. And it goes all around the circle. Now, millions of people are now using the circle process to solve problems, to heal community wounds, to make reconciliation from conflict, and just in general to learn, to share their stories, to gain self-esteem, and to feel a part of something bigger than themselves. The circle is a geometric figure that is a perfect figure. It doesn't have any cul-de-sacs or corners. You can't get stuck anywhere on a circle. It turns and turns and turns infinitely, infinitely, infinitely. It is the most sacred of all the figures, and in ancient times, the cross used to be presented within a circle when it was first arisen, and also so was the Sri Yantra and the often called Mogan David, but it isn't really David, it's Davida and David. The same symbol, meaning the intersection of female and male, was often shown in a circle. Most of our religious symbols have some circular aspect to them. It is the symbol of the goddess. It's my personal revelation that most likely the wheel was invented by a woman, because women like circles are a little bit more round. And what we need to learn is that our earth is round, and its path and all the paths of all the planets in relation to each other are modified circles. They're parabolas, they're circles, and they're all balancing each other. And it's all about this yin and yang balance. It's all about balance. Everything is about balance. Eternity and our ability to gain access to it is about balance, and particularly balance of gender, but also all the intersectional balances that are aspects of humanity on this earth now. And so that's the third conceptual component. And the fourth component is a spiritual component. It is the person who carries this wisdom. You, by carrying it, become ELLECTE, elected. You have a double L in your election, because you will become Eloha and Elohim. You become divine, although mortal currently, but moving toward immortality. She and he who carry the new millennial golden rule are moving toward immortality, goddess and godlike status and abilities. You are a very holy being. As soon as you understand this and make it yours, your law as well as mine, then you become, as I am, co-Christ. And the fifth component and I put them together, the 4 and the 5, because we are co-creative with our Creator. Our Creator, creatrix, creator, which is both female and male, feminine, masculine, yin and yang in interaction, created us to represent that force. We are created female and male for a reason. We have to have complete respect for one another, not only in our bodily differences, but in our mental symmetry and complementarity and overlap. Every study, scientific study now, shows that the female and the male are essentially equal in intelligence, in general intelligence, that women tend to be a little bit more skilled in areas of empathy, nurturing, human interaction, and recognition of that, and intuiting about time, whereas men are a little bit better with regard to quick action, and in the face especially of moments of threat, quicker decision making, and also spatial intuition about how math and physical aspects of the universe relate. If you put these two intelligences together, what comes out is genius. They bring forth in interplay with each other the best decisions possible, that take many, many various dimensional aspects into account, that each gender is better at doing it a little bit than the other. They have overlap. All women have some testosterone. All men have some estrogen. And they have different hormones that are sort of mimics of these major big ones, and that come about in different circumstances. Women under crisis do develop more testosterone ability, like qualities. They can move quicker if they're pressed toward it. Men who spend more time with a woman that they love or a child that they love develop more qualities that are associated with estrogen. So we can develop the opposite within ourselves, and by doing so, become more whole, holier, more capable of complete balance within ourselves, and yet grateful for the fact that there is a difference that God has got to have provided to us in making us female and male. So this is the fourth component, and the fifth component is God is God, the one itself, which is everywhere and in all things. Every process, every person, every animal, every flower, every grain of sand is the product of yin and yang. There is nothing in the universe that is not the product of yin and yang in balance. It's what the entire universe is. The ancient wisdom about this is absolutely correct. And the notions that you could have governments without women or families with so little presence of men is a mistake. However, when men are present in families in a patriarchal system, they become destructive to the family over time. And they become particularly destructive to their mates and to the women who are their sisters and their mothers, because the women become codependent and their own genius gets lost, and the whole society gets stupider because of that loss. So that's how we lose genius. So this is the new millennial golden rule. Now, going back to, let's see if this has all been showing right. I think it has been. Now going back to the main website categories. Scroll down. It says Sermons on the Mall and Maryland Earth Planet. We all have a dream to make reality the new millennial union. I wrote this essay. This website started around 2013, which shows you how delayed I was. I had done everything so much by the year 2000, I had run for co-president. I had no idea of my genealogy. I didn't know who I really was. I was interested in my genealogy, but I hadn't put it together fully enough until I found a website on the internet that made it clear that my grand maternal surname, and then I began to understand it was actually all my surnames, but particularly my grand maternal name was closely related to the line of what is considered the line of Mary and Jesus. That's where I understood something that was different about me. And then I began to think more about who was Mary of Magdala in relationship to these people, and read more recent archaeology and anthropology, that these people were cousines and cousins and nieces and aunts, and they were related. So let's see, this is not showing the screen share, so let's go back and take care of this as a screen share. Bear with me while this comes up on your screen. Taking a while. It's coming though, I think. At least the camera just turned off, so let's see if the screen share will come up. Giving me an hourglass symbol. It's cranking away here. I hear the sounds of the computer processing. Oh, I think we lost the page. Let's see if it will come back. Waiting for screen scrolling to occur. Now it's coming up with the section on the website that I wanted to show you. Under the sermons on the mall in Maryland, the section called "We All Have a Dream to Make Reality Now, State of the New Millennial Union." Okay, now I should be able to screen share this with you. Let's see if it will work. Taking me a while. Sorry. I can hear the computer processing. It's doing a lot of sounds of processing. Okay, now we should be able to pull this up. Should come up in just a moment. Now you can see it. If you scroll down on the 5050now.wordpress.com website into the section called Sermons, on the left there, it's about maybe 4 lines down or something. We all have a dream to make reality now, State of the New Millennial Union. By the way, this is just below the section called The Days the Earth Stood Still. And in a way, these two phrases have everything to do with each other. We have to make the earth stand still now in order that we can regain our dream and make it reality, because we are losing all our dreams on our planet Earth. Our dreams are becoming nightmares. Everything has become tarnished, corrupted, perverted, and moving toward extinction. We have to make our reality of balance now. Because if not, in a year or 2 from now, if we even have that long, we won't be here. Or if we are here, the scenario will be hellacious and horrific. And in fact, that word hell is very interesting, because hell in ancient German is the word for light. And it became associated with a horrible place within a patriarchal culture. Hell was one of the names for the afterlife, and it didn't necessarily mean something bad. But it came to mean something very bad, because in a patriarchal culture, light becomes perceived as dark. The yin is often associated with the dark. Well, that's absurd. The Statue of Liberty is carrying a torch. Females have great light. They have light within their eyes and light within their hearts. They're not just a dark womb. Their water, their milk is light in color. And the baby looks at it with light in their eyes. Women are all about light. They're not about dark. But in a patriarchal culture, the light within women becomes suspect and becomes associated with darkness, And so the word hell, which was originally a word that meant light, becomes a word that's associated with dark forces. It's funny how inverted patriarchy makes everything. Because when you take a yin-yang symbol and instead of putting the yin and the yang next to each other, you stick the yang over the yin, which is what the North Korean flag looks like, then you wind up with darkness because you're suppressing the yin's light and making it an underling, and it cannot bring the full light to you. So this is why gender balance is so important. So we all have a dream to make reality now. State of the New Millennial Union is right here. I have already read this address here on the traditional Martin Luther King holiday, which I now want to call the Queens and Common Kings holiday. Holidays, every day. That's one of them. Okay, and we have here a statement by Gina Davis. Gina Davis's birthday is January 21st. She quoted Martin Luther King in saying, "This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism or tokenism or trivialization or any of the isms that are going on in the United States media. Now is the time to make real," and I am changing that to R-E-A-L. Rhea is the ancient goddess of light. Estrella is Reall, and gives light to all. The promises of democracy are hereby become fulfilled. On our website, which I could not do alone. This website has the contributions of millions of people and very brilliant people who are alive today and in the recent current history. So now this month, in which common sense was given to North America from the family of Mary and Tom Lambert Payne, who lost a daughter in childbirth, and reminds us of how much we lose when girl children are lost and not regarded as holy enough and crucified in childbirth, or when any child is crucified at death in childbirth in their mother. This is a terrible thing, and it was very common in those days. In any case, we've got quite a bit of background here about Gina Davis and her work for gender parity, but she kind of got waylaid by her willingness to wait for men to make the decision for her. She's working for the United Nations. The United Nations is has wonderful people in it working for gender parity, but their General Assembly is, I think, 20 women out of 193 men total, or 20 women and 173 men. Come on. Come on, everybody. Come on. So Gina Davis is here. Her birthday is January 21st. As we've told you, Alice Perry Paul, the woman who brought votes to all North American women, was born on the power number of 111 in the 11th month on the old calendar, or the first month on our current calendar, which is a patriarchal calendar. It's a power number either way, Alice Perry. And because she used a nonviolent technique to bring her way of change about, she went on a fast. And she also very much was persistent. She organized the women to day after day after day after day after day after day stand in front of the White House on behalf of their gender. And they made their mark, and it worked. And she was arrested, and then she was tortured in jail with forced feeding because she was on a hunger strike. But she garnered such attention, and she and her colleague Lucy Burns and the other women who did this with them, the iron-jawed angels, brought about the change. Now, today, they didn't have Google's Hangouts. They had to go to great extremes to get communication and notice and reporters and all kinds of things to get attention enough to what they were doing. I'm hoping that I won't have to go to that extent, because this is meant to be easy. It's not meant to be a hard transition to eternal life. It's meant to be a glorious transition and fun. And Google's Hangouts can make it that way. But so she was born on April 11th, and that was right around the time that A Common Sense was first delivered to North America. And we are then referring the text of Martin Luther King's speech here, updated to be fully intersectional with particular emphasis on gender. You all have heard the song, which we'll play on another broadcast, of Yoko Ono and John Lennon's "Women is the Nigger of the World." That is everywhere the truth, except in countries that have achieved gender parity. Women are the niggers of North America. 70% of our poverty is among women. They may be Black women, Hispanic women, Native American women, especially Native American women, and white or Anglo and Nordic and European heritage women. But across the board, it is women, because without the New Millennial Golden Rule, our political and economic institutions force women cumulatively into poverty. It may take a little while for it to show up in their lives, but they wind up in that situation. Our greatest number of poor is older women and women with children. Not a good testament about our society, is it? And so we've done the speech of Martin Luther King's famous "I Have a Dream" speech and made these resonant phrases refer also to gender, intersectional justice, so that not only race, but gender, not only gender, but also race, class, educational status, currently birth order, and nationality, because this is a global State of the Union and a universal one. Nationality as a hierarchy, as a divisive aspect, is focused on here as something that we need to cash a new check that gets rid of the genderism, gets rid of the racism, gets rid of the classism, gets rid of the nationalism as extremely important elements, and makes as the most important element the balance of gender everywhere, no matter what your race, no matter what your heritage, no matter what your national category is right now, no matter what your income level is right now, that gender balance is the key to opening up the whole intersectional rainbow of flowing light, so that everyone winds up with the ultimate pot of gold at the end of their rainbow, which is everywhere, all around the world, eternal life in a very intelligent, evolved, capable society, capable, so greatly capable that we can open the stargates and travel on solar-powered vessels throughout the universe. And this is our State of the Union, and you could read it here. Then we made this into a real government. The Common Sense pamphlet envisioned a representative government. It was spelled out in the pamphlet. It was the precursor, of course, to the Articles of Confederation and then the Constitution. It was way ahead of them. It came out in 1776 in January, and he was talking about representatives. And he was talking about women, indigenous, people of color, no slavery, and no property requirements. All the men, not just the aggressive, manipulative guys, not just the aristocrats who had been ignoring the Jubilee for all of the biblical years. Now, we have revealed to the world that Tom Paine was very likely the Apostle Tom reincarnated. Thomas couldn't quite believe that Jesus came back to earth after he had been crucified and that had entered heaven as a living being. The Apostle Tom was a skeptic. Tom Paine was a skeptic of organized religion. He did not agree with the patriarchal cult of Jesus. He was actually wise because Jesus himself was not patriarchal. So the patriarchal cult of Jesus that was instituted at the Council of Nicaea, and that most people since then, including in the 1700s when Mary Wollstonecraft and Mary Lambert and Tom Paine were living, the cult of Jesus as the king was against what Tom Paine knew was the real intent of Jesus. Not a kingdom, but a kinddom. A process of ongoing kindness for each, toward everyone, and toward all. True divine democracy. And what Tom Paine and Jesus, Ethan, and Miriam of Magdala did not know and could not remember was Atlantis. And yet, Atlantis shows up in the Statue of Liberty. Somehow, the memory of the archetype was so great that our ultimate symbol of liberty, the Statue of Liberty, is the goddess Astrea, the solar and sun goddess, carrying what was then the Gortina Code, what we have now made the New Millennial Golden Rule. A sustainable now, better than the Gortina Code, but a much more clearly spelled out way to sustain balance of gender and optimal decision making and optimal balance of the activities of human beings, female and male, throughout all time, and inclusive of all people. And the huddled masses become, instead of huddled, the heroic masses. Right now, the people of North America are profoundly huddled. They're huddled in their little houses, and they don't talk very much to each other. And they watch television, and the television tells them a bunch of old men behind the scenes control their world, and that they have their puppet politicians, and that's what they watch. We have the better dream, and we have made it a reality. So we do celebrate Tom Paine. We also celebrate this month what is called Martyrs' Day in India, which is primarily related to Kasturba and Mahatma Gandhi, both of who, Mohandas Gandhi, the Mahatma Amma and the Mahatma, who used satyagraha, nonviolent mechanisms of change, to bring about saying goodbye to a colonial empire that had been strangling their identities there in India, and he had no place to be in India as an occupying power. So that's in January too. And also some other birthdays in January, which we're going to deliver a new page to you and explore over the next few days. A little bit more about common sense. This is also the birth month of Marija Gimbutas, the anthropologist and archaeologist who resurfaced the goddess in our times. Her works are enormously important, and most people don't know about them because our media is so controlled. But this woman opened up the ancient world to the modern world. We can touch the wisdom of ancient times because of Marija Gimbutas in a way that was only begun by the Hamilton sisters in their Edith Hamilton's book about mythology, but and other precursor books. But Marija Gimbutas gave us so many archaeological finds of the goddess, especially including also influencing our goddess theology movement, women like Carol Christ. The name is not a coincidence. She goes by Christ, but I will call her Carol Christ, and I will carol Christmas carols to her too. Not just Jesus. Jesus was marvelous and miraculous too, but so are these women. And Marija, Mari, again the goddess name, and Yah are paired in her name. The ultimate names for the beneficent goddess and truth force, Yah. And her birthday is January 23rd, I think. It's either 23rd or 26th. I have to look. Carrie Chapman Catt was also born in January. I think it's January 9th. She founded the League of Women Voters and some of the first international women's organizations for suffrage. But Carrie Chapman Catt had some downsides to her. She was a bit of a racist. And the odd thing about the League of Women Voters now is that I don't think they're racist at all, but I do think they're profoundly co-opted because they have been hurting the American public into elections that simply would not be accepted in much of the more literate world. Our controlled media, our lack of women on the tickets especially, our lack of minorities on the ticket would be unacceptable in the better democracies, the truer democracies, closer than North Americans are right now. And yet the League of Women Voters, which she founded, has been pushing, shepherding is the wrong word. They've been throwing people into the voting booths, knowing that even in 2000, the election was a sham. In 2004, the election was a lie. Even among the men, the results regarding the men were lied about. And they've been against the Electoral College, yet they keep promoting people to go into elections that are decided by the Electoral College. That is a perfect example of the dissociative process that occurs in the minds of people who have lived under patriarchy too long, and particularly women, because they wind up promoting that which they are against. It's a very strange pretzel that is going on with the League of Women Voters, and we have confronted them, and we are going to confront them some more. That's a very dangerous organization right now, and you should have nothing to do with the elections that they're promoting. Boycott the elections as they are conceived by our current media and political environment. They are not real. They would be boycotted in much of the world. Other countries have boycotted their elections as precursors to much more better constitutions. What we now have is something even better than that, a global law, the new millennial golden rule, that gives it love thy neighbor, divine democracy in every neighborhood on earth, connected easily to all one another by the internet. We do not need federal and state governments in the way we once did, or provincial governments. We just don't need them anymore. What we need is intelligent communities of intelligent extended families that are tuned in to what is really going on in their planet. Go solar, develop permaculture gardening, love thy neighbor as thyself, end abuse within every home in that neighborhood, protect the children, make sure the kids are well educated with a balanced education that includes women's studies and what women actually do and what the differences are across the broad brush of the genders and how individual differences do occur and need to be respected and so forth. These are what we need, and this is what we have. So we have created this speech, and we are celebrating in it a number of birthdays. You'll read about it, and you've already heard me give the words out. They are very moving words. Martin Luther King was a great orator, but the women of his family were equally talented. And we have, on another page, which you'll see soon, made consciousness currencies for his mother, Alberta, but even more important, for Coretta and her mother, Bernice, and her sister, Edith, and all of their children, including especially Bernice and Yolanda, and their cousines, who are now today working on a variety of issues. Now, that family has a problem going on it over the issue of abortion. Some of the women in that family became very focused on this issue of that abortion is not right. The focus on abortion, as if it could be decided as an issue unto itself, without noticing that the government that's deciding this issue is mostly men is a sign of women who have been sucked into patriarchy, and the king family, by its very name, which was not a born name, it was a chosen name on their way out of slavery, have gotten sucked into patriarchy. Everybody worships the papa. They forgot the mama in this family. Too long. Why doesn't she have a day? Why don't women have days according to their names? Because we're a patriarchal culture. Why don't we have women pictures on money? Because we have to keep more men in front of our eyes than women because we're patriarchal. Why don't we have every neighborhood no longer a ghetto because it's using solar energy? Because the women in this family are still protesting patriarchal government instead of becoming the government themselves. And they have the same problem that the women of the other first family most associated with the 1960s and its assassinations of fine men, that of the Bronick, Gakel, Hannon, Fitzgerald, Bouvier, Kennedy, Daley, Shriver, Cuomo family. Those people have the same problem. The women have been willing to be tokenized. The men have served in public office. The women have shied away from it, gotten close and backed away, except as appointees, and failed elections because they did not overtly enough confront the gender imbalance issue. So we have given gifts to all of these families of consciousness currencies. My family, now you'll see our new millennial government of the new millennial golden rule, our transitional grouping of women from every continent. Let's see, go back here. We're going to go to another page of the website now. Takes a while for the computer to grind here and now page. Here we are. Okay, so you look at the page and it's about 2/3 of the way down. Look for a new world. Women's and gender balanced grassroots congresses, courts, and assemblies. And underneath this, go to this third category here, among the representatives with you, and you. And we're still adding names. We're adding the names of the queens and kings of the family that we celebrate this week. Also, this is the week of Oprah Winfrey's birthday, who I am definitively related to because her name was from Orpah, who was the sister-in-law, I believe, of Naomi, or daughter-in-law and sister-in-law of Naomi and Ruth, who were also the predecessors for the family of Miriam of Nazareth and Jesus of Nazareth, and likely Miriam of Magdala also, and are my relations too. And Orpah was separated from Naomi and Ruth, who she loved, by the racial prejudice that came out of the fact that this was a patriarchal society. And the women clung to their own heritage in a way that was to please the men who were in patriarchal control and needed to define themselves more exclusively according to race and than would be needed otherwise. So that instead of valuing minorities among them, they sent the minorities back to where they came from. And that's what happened to Orpah. she was sent away. And I recently read that Oprah Winfrey named her unborn child that died in childbirth Canaan, which was the name for the promised land, and the name that Orpah wanted to stay in with and be a part of with Naomi and Ruth. And so at a very deep level, I'm hearing that unconsciously, Oprah Winfrey knows that there was a need for a connection between the Judeo-Christian cultures and the African-American cultures that was inclusive of all women. And I appeared on Oprah Winfrey's program in the 1980s when she was working for ABC on the issue of renewable energy. At that time, I knew nothing very deep about balance of gender. I was aware, though, that the decision makers of the Illinois Commerce Commission that were deciding whether or not to go solar or nuclear were mostly men. I was aware of that, and I did speak to that a little bit, but I didn't speak to it with the intensity that I am now speaking to it now, because I didn't recognize how profound a factor that is in the errors of decision-making around energy. Now we have a sociological study by that of Carrie Norgard and Richard York of the University of Oregon that shows very clearly that in governments where women are more fully present, better environmental decisions are made, better energy policy decisions are made. So there it was all the time, and I didn't know it, and Oprah still doesn't know it. Her programming reflects a terrible lack of understanding of this issue, and we have a huge essay about her, which I'll get to later this week or this month, about this, challenging her to not only open her Beverly Hills type mansion to the homeless, as was the subject of a movie with Kate Midler and Richard Dreyfuss, but also to make her home solar. To lead all of the people in sunny California to be just like Yolo County, California, which is 100% solar powered. And it is absurd that her house would not be. Absolutely absurd. So we have made a big focus on her and David Zaslav's, the Pam and David Zaslav's family of Silver Spring, Maryland, to switch to the genuine progress indicator, to observe the jubilees with their wealth, and to model the true biblical intention even better, made non-patriarchal and gone back to Atlantis. We do know that it's likely that the Atlantis seafarers did reach people of color. They likely had some interaction with Egypt. And so we know that these connections did occur in the ancient world, and they should be occurring in our thoughts. And so here is among the representatives with you, and you, and we have the groupings from every continent. We show the consciousness currencies, and we also show, again, the Native American beautiful sayings. We do not inherit this. We do not only inherit this planet from our ancestors, we are borrowing it from our children. We are actually sharing it with our children in the new millennial golden rule, because we will all escape the fate of mortality and be able to have this earth and all planets be ours. And so here is the government described. And here is the family of Ki Ban-Moon's family of women who really are more qualified to run the United Nations if they would only stop being such enablers. Soo-Yoon-taek and her daughters. Why are they not at the helm of the United Nations with its absurdly gender imbalanced General Assembly and Security Council? It's an absurdity. These people are hypocrites. Okay? It's that simple. Now, they don't have to stay hypocrites. We want to empower these women. Don't call him Secretary General anymore. Call her Secretary General. Call her daughters Co-Secretary Generals, Co-Saviorahs. Give them a button. Give them a consciousness currency when you see them, and tell them to get off the enabler role. It's absurd. And okay, and we have women who've been dealing with global warming and the speakers of different houses of government, just showing you some of the people. I have continually, on this website, it shows me as the representative of not only the Mariam of Magdala, loving family, loving the downtrodden, the first that shall become, the last that shall become first. Here I'm standing in front of a women's shelter in Washington, D.C., but doing my sermon. But also, I am an Ellie, like the Ellie of contact. I am making contact with the universal force, which is that of yin and yang, the mother, father, goddess, God. In all of us, our eternal parents is a force that operates and creates us, female and male. And here is Ellie touching that force in that film, and I am asking you to touch that force with me and become co-Christ who opened the stargates. And we will discover that all of our ancestors, so many of them having been women, so many abused and oppressed, genocided and murdered, dying prematurely from stresses of all kinds, the women and the gentler men, are on those planets. And they are waiting for us to open the stargates and reunite the family. That is really the truth. Their souls are there. They will reincarnate in time for us to meet them through the stargates and through other powered vessels that will eventually have mostly only solar powered vessels that will have enormous capability to travel interstellar space also. This is the Dual Millennial Confederation. This is real common sense. The common sense made the common royalty. And so here we have our different countries and areas: Africa, Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and New Zealand, Australia, and Indonesia. And we have women. Each grouping starts out with 11 literate homeless women. Then we also ask for scholars in the studies that women are most excellent and important in: women's studies, anthropology, psychology, sociology, political science, and genealogy. Now, that doesn't mean we're not including women in the other sciences too. We are. But what we feel that our world has been doing is undervaluing its social sciences and undervaluing its humanities. It's been overvaluing its math and science. And the fact that we hear all about getting more women into STEM has value, but we should be talking about honoring the women in the, they use that word science, technology, engineering, and math. They use that word science meaning mostly physics and math, physics and technological science. Social science is a science. And many of the people interpret STEM as just the hard sciences instead of the softer human sciences like sociology, psychology, and anthropology. These are sciences. They use statistics. They use logical methods of reasoning. So we're including them, and then all of the many women on each continent who have been fighting for parity, but by no means the majority in many places. In North America, a lot of the women in this culture are completely asleep and don't seem to notice how they've been lulled into that sleep by the media, by tokenism. Tokenism has been given to media, to women, and to minorities to lull them into the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. And while they've been drugged, this world is being destroyed by majority domination, by male manipulative older male patriarchal concentration of power. Wrong power. It's not real power. It's anti-power. It's not true power. True power is what Buddha held up, a flower. That's power. Okay. And so we have the African continent here, and of course the famous Queen and Common Queens and Kings celebrated in this week of I Have a Dream come from Africa. So we're connecting. All humanity initially came from Africa. Let's not forget that. And then we have other women here in North America, English and French-speaking North America. That means the United States and Canada. And we have my personal dearest family and community of women, our sister Kazinas, and our aunties, and remembering our great and grandmothers also, traveling this in time. So they are part of a timeless government that's in our thinking, as they should have been all along. And their great and grandchildren, female and male, my nieces and my nephews, both, and all, because, and their young cousins and cousins who are all like my children to me in my heart. I love them all. I love the ones that I know so deeply. I love my own mother's grandchild, my sister's child, as much as my sister and all of my family and their young cousins and cousins. And I know their enormous talents, but they don't seem to know it yet. So that's why I keep calling them to co-host these programs with me. And we have also, let's see. Okay, these are more North American women and their children and youth implied, also sometimes mentioned by name where we know them. And these are the consciousness currencies of my own family integrated with that of Native American women. Anna Marie and Ma Patricia Sunflower, Anna Marie singing created Ma Patricia Sunflower. Here is our Kazina and her young daughter. Here are some of our great and grandmothers and my own branches, our great and grandmother, 2 daughters and a daughter and a son who's now involved with the daughter as a beautiful couple, great and grandson and a great and granddaughter. And their names are in this grouping here, and they've seen them and they know that their names are here. I do regard them as co-Christs. I do regard them as that, co-Mariamas, co-Christs, but they don't. They don't regard me yet, and I don't know what their attitudes are. I think they're sitting on the fence. I think they kind of do, but they're afraid to admit it. They kind of do. They see it, but they're afraid to say it because they've been like frogs boiled in hot water slowly of patriarchy, and it's hard to extricate yourself quickly, but they will. And here we have the women of Latin and South America, many of whom have attained very clearly close to gender parity now. Now, not only Argentina and Costa Rica, but now Venezuela have reasonably close or at gender parity. And many of the other countries have very profound leadership in this direction. So, including Mexico and other countries. Chile had Michelle Bachelet, but she is still tokenizing herself. She's not insisting on parity, and she didn't at the United Nations either, hard enough. She talked about it, but not hard enough to organize some satyagraha, and that is why she failed. We need to be able to turn off the television, use some simple satyagraha, turn off the television, stop buying anything new advertised on the internet until there's parity for women, according to the new millennial golden rule in every government on the planet of Earth. Very simple. Just don't buy and don't watch TV. It's real simple. And don't go into elections that are not balanced by gender. Just don't regard them as actual elections and make that clear to everyone who you know. And here we have European women. It's taught by Sylvian Agasinski, the author of The Parity of the Sexes. And a lot of women throughout Europe have achieved levels of gender parity in a variety of jurisdictions. Here's Angela Merkel. Their legislature is about 40% female, not quite at parity, but close, and many of the cities and towns are at parity. And Corinne Kumar, the Courts of Women, which exist on every continent. This is she is part of their grouping of the Middle East, including Turkey, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. We have many very heroic women here, like the women of the Egyptian Women's Charter, Malala, Nama Kelman in Israel, especially Esther Herzog in Israel, and my own relation there, Susan Silverkind, who I need to push a little bit harder, and other women, and even the women of very extreme patriarchs, if they would regard themselves as the prime ministers. What if we regarded Mrs. Weitzman, the first wife of Bibi, as a prime minister of Israel already, retroactively? Start thinking about her that way and make some money for a consciousness currency for her. That'll shake things up a little bit and in the right direction for the entire Middle East. And the same thing is true in Egypt. What about Jahan Sadat, who's in the United States? Why haven't we called her the president of Egypt? She was just as qualified as her husband. I mean, what is the game here? It's called patriarchy. And here, this huge category is of the area of India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, Tibet. These women have done an enormous amount, especially in India, because it's a goddess culture. And we get the Panchayat Raj from India, the village rule. That's part of the New Millennial Golden Rule. What more can I say? These people have made enormous progress under difficult circumstances because they have continued to worship the goddess. And there is great power in that. And here we have the further Eastern Europe, Asia. We have the picture of the Statue of Liberty at Tiananmen Square. And all the young women of China, Japan, Korea, both Koreas, the Philippines. All of these women have made enormous progress. Vietnam have made, and Cambodia, and Siam, which was the home of the king and I. What she really should have said was the king and I, the queen, because, and I and all the queens, because it's all about a man and his harem, and a woman of higher enlightenment recognizing how primitive patriarchy is. But she herself didn't quite understand that her own land was patriarchal. Her England was patriarchal. It had women queens, but the houses that made the decisions were mostly male. So it didn't quite pull out of patriarchy either. So we are going to become the queens, and the kings are all of us. We are the common queens and kings, and I. And we also have from Australia and New Zealand, one of the greatest economists who has ever lived, Marilyn Waring, who was not only the youngest senator in New Zealand at age 22, but became the head of their Federal Reserve and loves a genuine progress indicator. She's really embraced that concept. And I don't know that she knows about the genuine progress indicator. She hasn't talked about it. It's kind of strange. I've been writing to her and to other women in New Zealand and Australia as well, and we regard them as just as important. Australia and New Zealand, by their very name, have the gold of AU, the Golden Rule. They are goddess names. New Zealand is a new zeal for balance. That is what we must do, and that includes Maori women too. So this is our world in the New Millennial Golden Rule, divine democracy. And we have women from every religious sect also. Here's Amma. Here are some of the women fighting within the Mormon tradition for ordination. But what we say to all of these women of all the various religious traditions is that we live in a global world now. And by reading comparatively religiously across the internet, your religion will become much truer by understanding the gifts of women of every sect and reintegrating them as in goddesshood. And then the men will begin to act more divinely also and be less hypocrites about their pontificating about kindness while practicing investment in accumulative wealth for just a few behind the scenes. So this is what we have to do, and we haven't done it already. And we're telling you that your home that you live in can become the site of a Stargate, especially if you go back to your great and grandmother's home and your mother's home first in your thinking, and anoint these women by virtue of a retroactive application of the new millennial golden rule to the way you think about their lives and their children and the men they knew. And then you will have the consciousness to travel back and forth in time and open up the stargates. Here's Susan B. Anthony. Here again is our own family and our own community. Our most beloved family and community is where I ended, because it all starts with you. And we also have big tasks. The first 9 to 18 months, the men cannot enter in as full partners yet. They have to wait. The first divine democracy transitional government is just of women and youth aged 37 and younger, female and male. Older men have a huge task. They have to confront directly the sin of patriarchy. Here is Patrick Stewart of Star Trek talking about the people who could do most to improve the situation of many women and children are in fact men. And we have added this word. He says, and stop violence against women. We have said, end patriarchy. He himself is in a patriarchal society and has not fully addressed the issue of patriarchy, but he understood it. I'm sure everyone who participated in Star Trek understood that all of the advanced civilizations were balanced by gender in their decision making. Only the primitive ones were primarily male. Very clear anthropology laid out by Gene Roddenberry, that man was, and his wife, Majel Barrett. That was a family of genius. We really need to pay attention to every episode of that series in the later years, because they really had it. It's anthropology made beautiful to watch. And so that's our divine democracy government of the new millennial golden rule, the Panchat Raj, the genuine progress indicator, the circle process. Every woman who joins this and endorses this is a co-Christ, an anointed, a high priestess of a planet. We return back to the time when we worshiped the sun as a divine and the mother, and we get past our patriarchal sojourn and our hidden patriarchy and our worship of money, and we become instead eternally young, female and male, loving our entire family tree, past, present, and future, with the yin and the yang balanced. And this is the state of the new millennial union. So, now, we also have another page. As I'm making these broadcasts, I know everything's got to stop because we're all going in the wrong direction. We're going to fall off our cliff pretty soon. So I have to do everything I can. And I'm calling these presentations, The Days the Earth Stood Still. And I'm going to add that to the title after this week. It'll be coming back on that. The Days the Earth Stood Still. And these are my gifts. My warning is that we're going over the cliff, we're destroying our world. Without my standing up, this world would have been destroyed already. I am acting as intercessor for the entire planet right now. I have that power because God gives it to me, and because I'm presenting. Now, what are the gifts that I give you? These are about my warnings. I give you Atlantis Risen. And those gifts are spelled out in this aspect of the Days the Earth Stood Still. Right as you come into the website, I give you all the gifts. I'll say them again here. These are the gifts and the abilities that you will have as soon as you embrace and share with me on these broadcasts in your own, the new millennial golden rule. In the first 5 years, completely stop and reverse global warming in the solar transition. And I have something called the Kitties Kits, which I'll show you in the next broadcast too, that make that very easy and fun. Regain full balance with nature, saving endangered species, including butterflies, bees, birds, and thousands more, and of course us. End desertification, drought, famine, and hunger anywhere on earth. As risen paradisal Garden of Eden's elusivral fields, like the planets described as Risoprom and the Noxus floating cities of Stargate, in harmony with nature. End all wife and child abuse, murder and crime, war and disease, and any kind of family domestic violence that is perpetuated and habitual and dangerous to anyone. Increase empathy and bring forth telepathy that will end parent-child alienation, regain respect for mothers, regain greater intimacy and loving kindness with fathers, transform sibling rivalry to sibling affection of agape, and resurrect the relationship of first, second, third, and fourth cousina and cousin circles, including aunts and uncles, and as well as parents, for every family made eternally young. Understand and open up the stargates to regain those who have been lost. Undergain the balance of nurture and nature of each birth as partial reincarnation of previous and ancestry. Learn who you are reincarnating and how your ascendance brings them back to life as holy human beings with your contact. Reparative educative television, required internet video chat for cousinas and cousins, all becoming co-saviours, all in addition to your family reunions on the ground with full genealogical tracing of all female first and then male. It's also just focusing on the years of them as children and students before they were contaminated by patriarchy and the older men. And rotate the hosting of these broadcasts and reunions among the homes or cities, wherever possible, of the cousinas for the next 11 years to repair habits of disconnection and create habits of resurrection and reconnection, even including with those thought dead. Because we are going to raise the dead by opening the stargates. Open the stargates and reconnect with honorable relations you thought had passed completely, but were only reincarnated on other planets. Very dishonorable relations are likely reincarnated as lower forms of life rather than human, but will begin to ascend again to a more human form as quickly as you adopt the new millennial golden rule. Discover the fountain of youth. Lifespan rapidly expands naturally to twice and then many times and then eventually, essentially eternal. Current span. Exponentially eternal life. Q continuum. Elimination of any need for money because we will be so abundantly and in harmony and capable of matter energy transfer and all of these other things that will grow out of the genius of females fully liberated from a second-class citizenship and in harmony with men and in association with a more evolved, balanced lives for science and scientists, especially with memory of Lynn Margulies and Lynn Alexander Margulies and Carl Alexander Sagan, and all that they represent in that community. Access to internet and all the learning of the world and worlds, as in the computer on Star Trek, from any location. Eliminate all forms of bullying and discrimination in families by gender, birth order, and among racial, nationalities, or ethnic groups. Unique aspects of nationalities and religious sects will be regarded as shareable flowers in a bouquet. Religious services will incorporate music and poetry from both one's unique heritage and from time to time from all heritages. All people, female and male, from birth throughout childhood and youth, and into an essentially eternal young adulthood will be regarded as apotheosis in humans with divine empowerment. They are not the ultimate goddess God, yin-yang, but they are balanced representations, Elahas and Elohims, each with unique combinations of talents and abilities that all create genius. Genius understanding, genius music, genius poetry, genius technological innovation and harmony with nature, all in infinite diversity and infinite combination. Full exploration and settlement of planets and moons that are already capable of life or terraformable. And in the second 5 years, eternal life and snap your fingers, true Q time travel via the stargates that we can open at will, begin full exploration and settlement of planets throughout the universe, even beyond our solar system, and completely open the stargates among known life-inhabited planets as if a metro system engaged at the snap of a finger as true Q. These really are the gifts that will unfold with the adoption of the new millennial golden rule. Do you want to just destroy yourself? Oh, we lost our screen share, it looks like. We lost our screen share. Oh my, okay. Well, I was reading from the website, so you'll figure that out and go visit and see. I'll put it on screen share again now, so you see where we last were. Not showing up properly yet. Oh, I think we lost our broadcaster, did we? Where did it go? I hate when this happens. I can't. Oh, here it is. Okay. So this is a segment of the initial page when you come into the website about the gifts that I'm giving you as first but not last only cosmic Christ. And this is what you see when you come into the website. The days the earth stood still and turned back time, back to the best future. Which do you want more? Your planeticidal patriarchy or your reconnected heavens on earths of all planets, of your genealogical and all our related, interrelated genealogical family tree? This is your choice. Your mechanism of receiving all these gifts is to immediately embrace and come to these shared broadcasts to discuss the new millennial golden rule, which is at 5050now.wordpress.com. And again, look at the top right corner and you'll see the new millennial golden rule, 5 pillars of change. The Panchayat Raj, the village rule, made the law of every neighborhood on earth, the genuine progress indicator, and the circle process with you, and you, starting with women and our youth, female and male, as the first cosmic Christ, co-Christs, and the risen representatives of not only of Mariam of Magdala as well as Jesus of Nazareth, both together here pictured, but every goddess incarnated in the minds of many cultures, and especially Astrea of ancient Atlantis, the goddess of balance, the goddess of the Statue of Liberty. I myself am also a physical reincarnation in part and spiritual reincarnation of Grace Love, the founder of the husband who invented television. I am the woman who understands that technology must be used to communicate love. If it does not do that, serve purpose, and it serves the purpose of just fomenting or just reinforcing the domination of a small group, it will destroy us. I'll talk more about that imagery in another broadcast. And of course, you've seen this by remembering the goddess of the Statue of Liberty, Estrella, and the goddess Mari of loving, living flow, including the flow of breast milk to children, female and male, is the means by which we will open up the stargates, and we will have eternal life on this planet and on all planets. We'll start with the women in a circle and add in the younger people, female and male. Those are our two important circles to form right now. The older men have a need for a circle of their own, but it's not within the governmental decision-making yet. Their need is to talk about what patriarchy has done to this planet. And when we do this, and we transmit it, broadcast in this way, we have welcomed you to the new time of the new millennial golden rule, which is now already, based on my giving these broadcasts, the law of the planet Earth. It may take a while for the rest of you to catch on and come and join me. I hope that you will not suffer for your delays. I am praying as intercessor for you that you do not suffer for your delays. Come join us. And let me just come back to our original music. We're going to come back to here. And do another screen share of what we want you to look at right now.
I should have said, oh, so beautiful. So beautiful. People need to see what I see. They need to see.
These are the spiritual as much as physical voyages of the co-federation solar, sun-R starship planet Earth, restored to heaven on our and every earth as our spiritual, genealogical, local, global, universal voyager and shared her and his family community enterprise. Our new millennial year's mission to rediscover and re-understand, sustain, and explore are and all are in fact familiar new worlds of family community, of the tree of love, life, and light throughout the solar system and universe, to restore, renew, and sustain our and new life and new sustainable civilizations, past, present, retroactively, and now, rebalance, and future, always balancing, to lovingly, genealogically, and boldly become and be space-time travelers whenever and where we have initial reality, all in part been before, if also never been before, in alternative space lines that are circles, which are of the universal EQ, IQ, and SQ continuum. Balance, combinations of the ever-expanding circle which spirals and grows, budding and blooming in space-time. Love and live enlightened, ever young, long, and prosper all both in each. and everyone. Engage your heart, mind, soul, and body. For we all, both and each both and all, can, must, and marvelously and miraculously make it so.
In the thunder's blast, she merges, her eyes on fire, the mighty priestess. She is risen from the nativity of Caldera. She is risen from the fires of the earth. She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
May the circle be overwhelmed, unbroken. May the love of the goddess be ever in your heart. Bury these and bury heart, and when we meet again, blessed be, blessed be, blessed be.
ॐ महालक्ष्मी मृडप्रिया महारूपा महापूज्या महापातकनाशिनी महामाया महासत्त्वा महाशक्ति महारथी महाभोग महेश्वर्या महावीर्या महाबला महाबुद्धि महासिद्धि महायोगेश्वरेश्वरी महातंत्र महामंत्र महायंत्र महासना महाचक्रमाराध्या ॐ महाभैरवपूजिता महेश्वर महाकल्पक महाताण्डव साक्षिणी महाकामेश महिषी महात्रिपुरसुन्दरी चतुष्षष्टि उपचाराढ्या चतुष्षष्टि कलामयी महाचतुष्षष्टि कोटि योगिनी गणसेविता
We are